for a muse of fire.
Yes.
That would ascend the brightest heaven of invention. The kingdom for a stage, princes to act, and monarchs to behold the swelling crowd.
Yes.
That is you all, and that's what we're here for tonight. So, Catherine Douglas is directing the first play, which is a lovely. Oh yeah, I think I wasn't supposed to read all this.
Beautiful.
Thank you. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I finally got my notes. I'm Virginia Woodhead, and on behalf of the Art Guild and our fearless renegades thespians, I welcome you to an evening. I welcome you to an evening of entertainment. We want to thank our generous hosts, Mickey and Cheryl, for inviting us into their beautiful, welcoming home for this special invitation-only event.
No riffraff.
In case you didn't feel special already, you know.
No groundlings.
All right, through theater, we aim to lift your spirits so that we may all lift the spirits of others, particularly those who are suffering in the brutal, life-shattering conflict in Ukraine.
Yes.
Amen.
The energy
Amen.
of our gathering goes out to those people.
Yes.
Amen.
Okay, so join us now as we take you back in time with F. Scott Fitzgerald's Porcelain and Pink. I know you can't wait. Oh, so exciting. And Eugene Ionesco's The Bald Soprano. There will be a short break between plays. Now sit back, turn off your cell phones, and relax. And enjoy what we hope will amuse you and perhaps confuse you. Ladies and gentlemen, 2 short plays.
Thank you.
Woohoo!
Okay, Porcelain and Pink by F. Scott Fitzgerald
Yay.
is a perfect example of mistaken identity, a play based on mistaken identity. It was written in 1922, and so you have to kind of understand it in the context of its time. Women had just recently won the right to vote. They've shortened their skirts. They're trying to shed some stereotypes of femininity, and they're just a little bit daring. There are some words that were probably very familiar to the audience in 1922 that we might need to be reminded of. I think you all know what to spoon is. It's a certain way to cuddle. And there's the word shimmy, spelled with an S. It was a new ragtime dance. Spelled with a C, like the French word chemise. It was a loose woman's undergarment. There were a couple of people mentioned in the play that everyone would have known at the time. One was Gabby Delise, who was a beautiful actress. Another was a Mr. Bergson, who was an influential French philosopher. There are also, for people that aren't literary professors or maybe newly minted English majors, there are a lot of references to literature. And I needed to kind of review myself about who wrote what. And certainly my character needed a little bit of review as well. But here's the lineup. Ivanhoe is referred to Sir Walter Scott. The Last of the Mohicans by Cooper. The Man with the Iron Mask by Dumas, Alexander Dumas. There's mention of O. Henry, the American writer, and Oscar Wilde, the British writer who wrote some things from jail. There's also mention of Longfellow's poems, Evangeline, and the wish I had my glasses, I should remember this, The Skeleton in Armor. The place of this play is a downstairs room in a summer cottage, probably up north, maybe upstate New York. And there are 3 characters. One is Lois, the sister, and this is played by Virginia Woodhead. She's filling in for Melinda Hester, who's somewhere up north making her way down here. So I'm so grateful for her doing double duty today. actress in this play, director in the next.
She's gotten to be good at that.
She's getting good at
Hey,
it.
keep in
Yeah.
training.
Yeah. And the other is a newcomer to the stage, but not to Edisto. This is, now don't break through the window, whatever the window, the illusion.
I can't do this. If I do this,
Oh my
you,
God.
if I do this.
Mike Cabela, better known as Vito on the pickleball court and on his bocce court, but he is playing the young man here to pick up his date. The third character is Julie, played by me, Catherine. I might take a stage name of Kate, spelled with a C, but that's immaterial. What is material is that this play requires a great deal of imagination because Julie, according to F. Scott Fitzgerald, is a whispering distance from the age of 20.
Oh, I love that.
Places. Places.
That's lovely.
All right.
Oh.
When Caesar did the Chicago, he was a graceful child. Those sacred chickens just raised the dickens. The vestal virgins went wild. Whenever the Nerval got nervy, he gave them an awful razz. They shook in their shoes with the consular blues, the imperial Roman jazz.
Excuse me, I didn't know you were here.
Oh, hello. I'm giving a little concert.
Oh, why didn't you lock the door?
Didn't I?
Well, of course you didn't. Do you think I just walked through it?
Oh, well, I thought you picked the lock,
You're
dearest.
so careless.
No, I'm happy as a garbage man's dog, and I'm giving a little concert. Grow up. Oh, the walls, they reflect the sound, you see. That's why there's something very beautiful about singing in a bathtub. It gives an effect of surpassing loveliness. Can I render another selection?
I wish you'd hurry out of the tub.
Can't be hurried. This is my kingdom at present. Godliness.
Why the mellow name?
Because you're sitting next to cleanliness.
Oh,
don't throw anything.
How long will you be?
Not less than 15 or more than 25 minutes. As a favor to me, will you please make it 10? Godliness. Do you remember the day in the chill of last January when one famous Julie, famous for her Easter bunny smile, was going out and there was scarcely any hot water, and young Julie had filled the tub on her for her own little self when the wicked sister came in and did battle the bathe therein, forcing the young Julie to perform her ablutions with cold cream, which is expensive and a darn lot of trouble.
Well, then you won't hurry.
Why should I?
I've got a date.
Here at the house?
None of your business.
So be it.
Oh, for heaven's sake, yes, I have a date here in this house. In a way.
In a way.
Well, he isn't coming in. He's calling for me and we're walking.
Oh, the plot clears. It's that literary Mr. Calkins. I thought you promised your mother you wouldn't let him in.
Oh, she's so idiotic. She detests him because he's been divorced. Of course, she's had more experience than I have. But...
Don't let her kid you. Experience is the biggest gold brick in the world. All older people have it for sale.
I like him. We talk literature.
Oh, so that's why you noticed all these weighty books around the house lately.
He lends them to me.
Well, you've got to play his game. When in Rome, do as the Romans would like to do. But I'm through with books. I'm all educated.
You are so inconsistent. Last summer you read every day.
If I were consistent, I'd still be living on warm milk out of a bottle.
Yes, probably my bottle. But I like Mr. Calkins.
I never met him.
Well, will you just hurry up then?
Yes. I wait till the water gets tepid, and then I let more in.
Oh, how interesting.
Remember when we used to play Sopo?
Yes, and 10 years old. I'm really quite surprised that you don't play it still.
I do. I'm going to in a minute.
Silly game.
No, it isn't. It's good for the nerves. I bet you've forgotten how to play it.
No, I have not. You get the tub all full of soap suds, and then you get up on the edge and slide down.
That's only part of it. You've got to slide down without touching your feet or hands.
Oh, Lord, what do I care? I wish we'd either stop coming here in the summer or else get a house with 2 bathtubs.
You can buy yourself a little tin one or use the hose.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, yeah. When you go, leave the towel.
What?
Leave the towel when you go.
This towel?
Yes, I forgot my towel.
Oh, why, you idiot. You haven't even a kimono.
So I haven't.
Well, how did you get in here?
I guess I whisked here. You know, a white form whisking down the stairs and
Why, you little wretch. Haven't you any pride or self-respect?
lots of both. I think that proves it. I look very well. I really am rather cute in my natural state.
Well,
I wish people didn't wear pretty clothes. I guess I ought to have been a pagan or a native or something.
you're
I read last night that one Sunday in church, a small boy brought in a magnet that attracted cloth. He attracted the cloths right off everybody, put them in an awful state. People were crying and shrieking and carrying on as if they just discovered their skins for the first time. Only I didn't care. I just laughed. I had to pass the collection plate because nobody else would.
Do you mean to tell me that if I hadn't come, you'd have run back to your room unclothed?
Oh, naturel is so much nicer.
Suppose there'd been someone in the living room.
There never has been yet.
Yet? Good grief, how long?
Besides, I usually have a towel.
Golly, you ought to be spanked. I hope you get caught. I hope there's a dozen ministers in the living room when you come out, and their wives and their daughters.
There wouldn't be room for them in the living room, answered Clean Kate to the laundry district.
All right, you've made your own bathtub. You can lie in it.
Hey, I don't care about the kimono, but I want the towel. I can't dry myself on a piece of soap or a wet wash rag.
I won't humor such a creature. You'll just have to dry yourself the best way you can. You can roll on the floor like the animals do. They don't wear any clothes.
All right, get out. Huh. I will squirt you. When the arrow collar man meets the teacher kiss girl on the smokeless Santa Fe, her Peppico smile, her Lucille style, dee-dum da dee-dum da dee day, dee-dum da dee da dee day. Hello? Are you the plumber? Are you the water department? What do you want? I believe you're a ghost. Are you? Well, then stop banging. If you're the plumber, that's a mean trick. Turn it on for a fellow. Don't argue. I want water. Water. Water.
Someone fainted?
Jumping cats.
Water's no good for fits.
Fits? Who said anything about fits?
You said something about a cat jumping.
I did not.
Well, we could talk it over later. Are you ready to go out? Or do you still feel that if you go with me just now, everybody will gossip?
Gossip. Would they? It'd be more than gossip. It'd be a regular scandal.
That's a little strong. Your family might be somewhat disgruntled, but to the pure, all things are suggestive. No one else would give it a thought except some old ladies. Come on.
You don't know what you ask.
Do you imagine we'd have a crowd following us?
A crowd. There'd be a special all-steel buffet train leaving New York hourly.
By the way, are you house cleaning?
Why?
There are no pictures pictures on the walls.
Well, why, we never have pictures in this room.
That's odd. I never heard of a room without something about the tapestries or something.
Well, there's not even any furniture in here.
What a strange house.
It depends on the angle you see it from.
It's so nice talking to you like this, when you're just merely a voice. I'm rather glad I can't see you.
So am I.
By the way, what color are you wearing?
Why, I guess it's sort of a pinkish white.
Is it becoming?
Yes, very. It's old. I've had it for a long while.
I thought you hated old clothes.
I do, but this was a birthday present, and I sort of have to wear it.
Pinkish white. I'm sure it's divine. Is it in style?
Quite. It's very simple, standard model.
What a voice you have. How it echoes. Sometimes I shut my eyes and it seems to me you're in a far off island calling for me. And I plunge towards you, reaching out as you call for me, water stretching on both sides of you.
Well, drop soap, drop soap.
What was that? Did I dream it?
Yes, you're very poetic, aren't you?
No, I do prose. I do verse only when I'm stirred.
Stirred by a spoon.
I have always loved poetry. I can remember to this day the first poem I ever learned by heart. It was Evangeline.
That's a fib.
Did I say Evangeline? I meant the skeleton in armor.
I'm a lowbrow, but I can remember my first poem. It had one verse. Parker and Davis sitting on a fence trying to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Are you growing fond of literature?
If it's not too ancient or complicated or depressing. Same way with people. I usually like not too ancient or complicated or depressing.
Of course, I've read enormously. You told me last night that you were very fond of Walter Scott.
Scott, let's see. Oh, yes, I read Ivanhoe and The Last of the Mohicans.
That's by Cooper.
Ivanhoe is. You're crazy. I guess I know I read it.
The Last of the Mohicans is by Cooper.
What do I care? I like O. Henry. I don't see how he ever wrote those stories. Most of them he wrote in prison. The bell of Reading Jail he made up in prison.
Literature. Literature. How much it has meant to me.
Well, as Gabby DeLee said to Mr. Bergson, with my looks and your brains, there's nothing we couldn't do.
You certainly are hard to keep up with. One day you're awfully pleasant, and the next you're in a mood. If I didn't understand your temperament so well.
Oh, you're one of those amateur character readers, are you? Size people up in 5 minutes and then look wise whenever they're mentioned. I hate that sort of thing.
I don't boast of sizing you up. You're most mysterious, I'll admit.
There's only 2 mysterious people in history.
Who are they?
The man in the iron mask and that fellow who says, ugga-glug, ugga-glug, ugga-glug when the line is busy.
You are mysterious. I love you. You're beautiful, intelligent, and virtuous. And that's the rarest known combination.
You're a historian. Tell me, are there any bathtub stories in history? I think the bathtubs have been frightfully neglected.
Bathtubs. Let's see. Well, Agamemnon was stabbed in his bathtub. And Charlotte Corday stabbed Marat in his bathtub.
Way back there, nothing new besides the sun, is there? Only yesterday I picked up a musical comedy score that must have been at least 20 years old. And there on the cover it said, The Shimmies of Normandy. But shimmy was spelt the old way with a C.
I loathe these modern dances. Oh, Lois, I wish I could see you. Come to the window. What on earth was that?
I heard something too.
Sounded like running water.
Didn't it? Strange like it. As a matter of fact, I was filling the goldfish bowl.
What was the banging noise?
One of the fish snapping his golden jaws.
Lois, I love you. I am not a mundane man. but I am a forger.
Oh, how fascinating.
A forger ahead, Lois. I want you.
Oh,
Oh,
oh.
what you really want is for the world to come to attention and stand there till you give rest.
Lois, I.
Oh, Mr. Calkins! Mr. Calkins!
I thought you were wearing pinkish white.
Oh!
My Lord, she's fainted. I gotta come in.
Well, in that case, I'm coming right out.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Virginia Woodhead, and I'm proud to be bringing you this play tonight. It's called The Bald Soprano by Eugene Ionesco. I'll say nothing more, and I'll hand over the floor to Rick Vogel, who will give us a little idea of how to find something understandable in this play.
I just have 10 or 12 pages here, so settle in. The Bald Soprano is an example of theater of the absurd. A 1950s French movement related to existentialist belief that human life is incomprehensible and essentially meaningless. For example, in this play, a woman describes patiently each element of the meal her family has just eaten. Why? A married couple recognize each other only after a long discussion of clues that they are a couple. What? These are situations rightly called absurd. Try to think of the character's speech in this play, not as the expression of something they want to say, but as found pieces of language, ready-made, phrases, cliches, often inappropriate to the situation. Conversations like this one, which is not from the play. I'm taking my dog for a walk. Oh, then it must have 6 letters to its name. Oh, you're getting it.
Yeah.
Such characters are not really persons, since what they say comes from the world around them, not themselves. Think of a conversation not among people, but among 4 Hallmark cards. Happy graduation to a great gal. I'm terribly sorry for your loss. Happy Hanukkah. You're invited to a gender reveal. So, robotic figures, speaking cliches, but not knowing that they are. It's the death of meaning, the death of authentic human interaction. It is absurdity. I hope you enjoy the play, and please welcome our gifted and wonderful director, Virginia Woodhead.
Woo-hoo. The Bald Soprano. Scene: a middle-class English interior with English armchairs. An English evening. Mr. Smith is an Englishman, seated in his English armchair, wearing an English slippers, and reading an English newspaper.
Jimmy would be so
He is
funny.
wearing English spectacles. Oops, he's not wearing English spectacles, and a small, no, gray mustache. No. Beside him, in another English armchair, Mrs. Smith, an English woman, is not darning some English socks. A long moment of English silence, and the English clock strikes 4.
There, 9 o'clock. We've drunk the soup and eaten the fish and chips and the English salad. The children have drunk English water. We've eaten well this evening. That's because we live in the suburbs of London and our last name is Smith. Potatoes are very good for tried and fact, and the salad oil was not rancid. Oil from the grocer at the corner is better quality than the oil from the grocer at the bottom of the street. However, I prefer not to tell them that their oil is bad. But still, the soup was perhaps a little bit too salty. It was saltier than you. It also had too many leeks and not enough onions. I regret I didn't advise Mary to add some aniseed stars. The next time I'll know better. Mrs. Parker knows a Romanian grocer by the name of Popescu Rosenfeld, who has just come from Constantinople. He's a great specialist in yogurt. He holds a diploma from the School of Yogurt Making in Adrianople. Tomorrow I shall buy a large pot of native Romanian yogurt from him. One doesn't often find such things here in the suburb of London. Yogurt is excellent for the stomach, the kidneys, the appendicitis, and apotheosis. It was Dr. Mackenzie King who told me that. He's the one who takes care of the children and of our neighbors, the Johns. He's a good doctor. One can trust him. He never prescribes any medicine that he's not tried on himself first. Before operating on Parker, he had his own liver operated on first, although he was not the least bit ill.
But how does it happen that the doctor pulled through while Parker died?
Because the operation was successful in the doctor's case, and it was not in Parker's.
Then Mackenzie is not a good doctor. The operation should have succeeded with both of them, or else both should have died.
Why?
A conscientious doctor must die with his patient if they can't get well together. The captain of a ship goes down with his ship into the briny deep. He does not survive alone.
One cannot compare a patient with a ship.
Why not? The ship has its diseases too. Moreover, your doctor is as hale as a ship. That's why he should have perished at the same time as his patient, like the captain and his ship.
Oh, I hadn't thought of that. Perhaps it is true. And then what conclusion do you draw from this?
Oh, all doctors are quacks, and all patients too. Only the Royal Navy is honest in England.
But not sailors.
Naturally. Here's a thing I don't understand. In the newspaper, they always give the age of the deceased persons, but never the age of the newly born. That doesn't make sense.
I never thought of that.
Huh. It says here that Bobby Watson died.
My God, the poor man. When did he die?
Why do you pretend to be astonished? You know very well that he's been dead these past 2 years. Surely remember that we attended his funeral a year and a half ago.
Oh, yes, of course I do remember. I remembered it right away, but I don't understand why you yourself were so surprised to see it in the paper.
It wasn't in the paper. It's been 3 years since his death was announced. I remembered it through an association of ideas.
What a pity. He was so well preserved.
He was the handsomest corpse in Great Britain. He didn't look his age. Poor Bobby, he'd been dead for 4 years and he was still warm. A veritable living corpse. And how cheerful he was.
Poor Bobby.
Which poor Bobby do you mean?
It is his wife that I mean. She was called Bobby too. Bobby Watson. Since they both had the same name, you never could tell one from the other when you saw them together. It was only after his death that you really could tell which was which. And there are still people today who confuse her with the deceased and offer their condolences to him. Do you know her?
I only met her once by chance at Bobby's burial.
How sad for her to be left a widow so young.
Fortunately, they had no children.
That was all they needed, children. Poor woman, how could she have managed?
She's still young. She might very well remarry. She looks so well in mourning.
But who would take care of the children? You know very well that they have a boy and a girl. What are their names?
Bobby and Bobby, like their parents. Bobby Watson's uncle, old Bobby Watson, is a rich man and very fond of the boy. He might very well pay for Bobby's education.
That would be proper daughter. And Bobby Watson's aunt, old Bobby Watson, might very well, in her turn, pay for the education of Bobby Watson's daughter. That way Bobby Watson's mother, could be married. Has she had anyone in mind?
Oh yes, a cousin of Bobby Watson's.
Who? Bobby Watson?
I don't know everything. I can't answer all your idiotic questions.
Are you trying to humiliate me?
You know very well that I am not. Let's see. Oh, my little ducky daddles. What a spitfire you are. They only said that as a joke. What a ridiculous pair of old lovers we are. Come, let's put out the light and say our bye-byes.
I'm the maid. I have spent a very pleasant afternoon. I've been to the cinema with a man, and I've seen a film with some women. After the cinema, we went to drink some brandy and milk, and then read the newspaper.
I hope that you've spent a pleasant afternoon, that you went to the cinema with a man, and that you drank some brandy and milk.
And the newspaper.
Mr. and Mrs. Martin, your guests, are at the door. They were waiting for me. They didn't dare come in by themselves. They were supposed to have dinner with you this evening.
Oh, yes, we were expecting them, and we were hungry. Since they didn't put in an appearance, we were going to start dinner without them. We've had nothing to eat all day. You should not have gone out.
But it was you who gave me permission.
We didn't do it on purpose.
I bought me a chamber pot.
My dear Mary, please open the door and ask Mr. and Mrs. Martin to step in. We will change quickly.
Why have you come so late? You're not very polite. People should be punctual, do you understand? Here. Sit down here and... Anyway,
Thank you.
and wait now that you're finally here.
Stop Emily, every
You don't have to coach this stuff. I don't know what
Excuse me, madam, but it seems to me, unless I'm mistaken, that I've met you somewhere before.
I too, sir. It seems to me that I've met you somewhere before.
Was it by any chance at Manchester that I caught a glimpse of you, madam?
That is very possible. I'm originally from the city of Manchester, but I do not have a good memory, sir. I cannot say whether it was there that I caught a glimpse of you or not.
Good God, that's curious. I, too, am originally from the city of Manchester, madam.
That is curious.
Isn't that curious? Only, madam, I left the city of Manchester about 5 weeks ago.
That is curious. What a bizarre coincidence. I too, sir. I left the city of Manchester about 5 weeks ago.
Madam, I took the 8:30 morning train, which arrives in London at 4:45.
That is curious. How very bizarre. And what a coincidence. I took the same train too, sir.
Good Lord, how curious. Perhaps then, madam,
It was on the train.
Perhaps then, madam, it was on the train that we first saw each other.
It is indeed possible. That is not unlikely. It is plausible. And after all, why not?
I traveled second class, madam. There is no second class in England, but I always travel second class.
That is curious. How very bizarre. And what a coincidence. I too, sir, travel second class.
How curious that is. My seat was in coach 8, compartment 6, my dear lady.
Oh, where are you, darling? Oh, good Lord! How curious and bizarre! I had seat number 6. window across from you, my dear sir.
Good God, how curious that is. And what a coincidence. We were then seated facing each other, my dear. It is there that we must have seen each other.
How curious it is! Is it possible? But I do not recall, sir.
Dear madam, were you not the lady who asked me to place your suitcase in the luggage rack, and who thanked me and gave me permission to smoke?
But of course, that must have been I, sir. How curious it is! How curious it is! And what a coincidence!
How curious it is, and what a coincidence. Since coming to London, I have resided in Bromfield Street, my dear lady.
How curious that is, how bizarre. I too, since coming to London, I have resided in Bromfield Street, my dear sir.
I reside at number 19, my dear lady.
How curious that is. I also reside at number 19, my dear sir.
My flat is on the 5th floor, number 8, my dear lady.
How curious it is, good Lord. How bizarre. And what a coincidence. I too reside on the 5th floor in flat number 8, dear sir.
Oh, how curious it is. How curious it is, how curious it is. And what a coincidence. You know, in my bedroom, there's a bed. And it's covered with a green eiderdown. This room with the bed and the green eiderdown is at the end of the corridor between the WC and the bookcase, dear lady.
What a coincidence. Good Lord. What a coincidence. My bedroom, too, has a bed with a green eiderdown and is at the end of the corridor between the WC, dear sir, and the bookcase.
How bizarre. Curious. Strange. Then, madam, we live in the same room. And we sleep in the same bed, dear lady. It is perhaps there that we have met.
Oh, how curious it is! And what a coincidence! It is indeed possible that we have met there, and perhaps even last night.
Then, dear lady, I believe that there could be no doubt about it. We have seen each other before, and you are my own wife, Elizabeth. I have found you again.
Oh, Donald! It's you! Darling!
Looks like an ad lib.
I think you're next, honey.
Elizabeth and Donald are too happy to be able to hear me. I can therefore let you in on a little secret. Elizabeth is not Elizabeth, and Donald is not Donald. It is in vain that he thinks he is Donald. It is in vain that she thinks she is Elizabeth. He believes in vain that she is Elizabeth, and he believes in vain that he is Donald. They are sadly deceived. But who is the true Donald? And who is the true Elizabeth? And who has any interest in prolonging this confusion? I don't know. Let's try not to know. Let's leave things as they are. My real name is Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, yeah.
Darling, let's forget all that has not passed between us. And now that we have found each other again, let's try not to lose each other anymore and live as before.
Yes, darling.
Good evening, dear friends. Please forgive us for having made you wait so long. We thought that we should extend to you the courtesy to which you are entitled, and as soon as we learned that you had been kind enough to give us the pleasure of coming to see us without prior notice, we hurried to dress for the occasion.
We've had nothing to eat all day, and we've been waiting 4 whole hours for you. Why have you come so late?
Oh, but definitely.
We all have colds.
Nonetheless, it's not chilly.
There's no draft.
Oh no, fortunately.
Since you travel so much, you must have many interesting things to tell us.
My wife, my dear, tell us what you have done today.
It's scarcely worth the trouble, for no one would believe me.
We're not going to question your sincerity.
You will offend us if you think that.
You will offend them, my dear, if you think that.
Oh, well, today I witnessed something extraordinary. Something really incredible.
Tell us quickly, my dear.
Oh, this is going to be amusing.
At last.
Well, today, when I went shopping to buy some vegetables, which are getting to be dearer and dearer.
Where is it all going to end?
You shouldn't interrupt, my dear. It's very
In
rude.
the street, near a cafe, I saw a man, properly dressed, like 50 years old, or not even, who...
Who? What?
Who? What?
Don't interrupt, my dear. You're disgusting.
My dear, it is you who interrupted first, you bore.
Hush. What was this man doing?
Well, I'm sure you'll say I'm making it up. He was down on one knee, and he was bent over.
Oh!
Yes, bent over.
Not possible.
Yes! Bent over. I went near him to see what he was doing.
And?
He was trying to tie his shoelace, which had come undone.
Fantastic!
If then someone else had told me this, I would not have believed it.
Why not? One sees things even more extraordinary every day when one walks around. For instance, today in the underground, I myself saw a man quietly sitting on a seat, reading his newspaper.
What a character!
Perhaps it was the same man. Goodness, someone is ringing.
There must be somebody there. I'll go see.
I'm going to give you another example.
Nobody.
I'm going to give you another example.
Goodness, someone is ringing.
There must be someone there. I'll go see. No one.
You were saying that you were going to give us another example.
Oh, yes.
Goodness, someone is ringing.
I'm not going to open the door again.
Yes, but there must be someone there.
The first time there was no one. The second time, no one. Why do you think that there was someone there now?
Because someone has rung.
That's no reason.
What? What? When one hears the doorbell ring, that means someone is at the door, ringing to have the door opened.
Not always. You've just seen otherwise.
In most cases, yes.
As for me, when I go to visit someone, I ring in order to be admitted. I think that everyone does the same thing, and that each time there is a ring, there must be someone at the door.
That is true in theory, but in reality, things happen differently. You have just seen otherwise.
Your wife is right.
Oh, you women, you always stand up for each other.
Well, I'll go and see. You cannot say that I'm obstinate, but you will see that there is no one there. You see, there is no one there. Oh, these men who always think they're right and who are always wrong.
Goodness, someone is ringing. There must be someone there.
Don't send me to the door again. You've seen that it was useless. Experience teaches us that when hears a doorbell ring, it is because there is never anyone there.
Never!
That's not entirely accurate.
In fact, it's false. When one hears the doorbell ring, it's because someone is there.
He won't admit he's wrong.
My husband is very obstinate, too.
There's someone there.
That's not impossible.
No.
Yes.
I tell you, no. In case you are not going to in any case, you are not going to disturb me again for nothing. If you wish to know, go and look yourself.
Oh, go. Oh, how do you do? It's the fire chief.
Good evening, Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith, you appear to be angry.
Oh.
see?
You see, it's because. Oh. You see, it's because. You see, it's because my wife is a little chagrined at having been proved wrong.
There's been an argument between Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Fire Chief.
This is no business of yours. I beg you not to involve outsiders in our family arguments.
Oh, my dear, it is not so serious. The fire chief is an old friend of the family. His mother courted me, and I knew his father. He asked me to give him my daughter in marriage if I ever had one, and he died waiting.
That's neither his fault nor yours.
Well, what is this all about?
My husband was claiming.
No, it was you who was claiming.
Yes, it was she.
No, it was he.
Don't get excited. You tell me, Mrs. Smith.
Well, this is how it was. It's difficult for me to speak openly to you, but a fireman is also a confessor.
Well, then.
We were arguing because my husband said that each time the doorbell rings, there is always someone there.
It is plausible.
And I was saying that each time the doorbell rings, there is never anyone there.
It might seem strange.
But it has been proved, not by theoretical demonstrations, but by facts.
That's false. Since the fire chief is here, he rang the bell, I opened the door, and there he was.
When?
But just now.
Yes, but it was only when you heard the doorbell ring the fourth time that there was someone there. And the fourth time does not count.
Never. It is only the first 3 times that count.
Mr. Fire Chief, permit me in my turn to ask you several questions.
Go right ahead.
When I opened the door and saw you, it was really you who had rung the bell?
Yes, it was I.
You were at the door and you rang in order to be admitted?
I do not deny it.
You see, I was right. When you hear the doorbell ring, that means someone rang it. You certainly cannot say that the fire chief is not someone.
Certainly not. I repeat to you that I was speaking only of the first 3 times, since the fourth time does not count.
And when the doorbell rang the first time, was it you?
No, it was not I.
You see? The doorbell rang and there was no one there.
Perhaps it was someone else.
Were you standing at the door for a long time?
3/4 of an hour.
And you saw no one?
No one, I'm sure of that.
And did you hear the bell when it rang the second time?
Yes, and that wasn't I either. And there was still no one there.
Victory, I was right.
Not so fast. And what were you doing at the door?
Nothing. I was just standing there. I was thinking of many things.
But the third time, it was not you who rang?
Yes, it was I.
But when the door was opened, nobody was in sight?
That was because I had hidden myself as a joke.
Don't make jokes, Mr. Fire Chief. This business is too sad.
In short, we still do not know whether, when the doorbell rings, there is someone there or not.
Never anyone.
Always someone.
I am going to reconcile you. You both are partly right. When the doorbell rings, sometimes there is someone. Other times there's no one.
This seems logical to me.
I think so too.
Life is very simple, really. Now go on and kiss each other.
We just kissed each other a little while ago.
They'll kiss each other tomorrow. They have plenty of time.
Mr. Fire Chief, since you have helped us settle this, please make yourself comfortable. Take off your helmet and sit down for a moment.
Excuse me, but I can't stay long. I should like to remove my helmet, but I haven't time to sit down.
Chair back. Can you move all of this way? Yeah, sure.
I must admit,
Slide back a little bit.
We're putting you, Connie, let's move you back. Right here.
Impromptu theater.
There we go. There we go. Excuse me.
Yeah.
I must admit that I have come to see you for another reason. I am on official business.
And what can we do for you, Mr. Fire Chief?
I must beg you to excuse my indiscretion. You don't mind in front of them?
Oh, say whatever you like.
We're old friends. They tell us everything.
Speak!
Well, is there a fire here?
Why do you ask that?
It's because, pardon me, I have orders to extinguish all fires in the city.
All?
Yes, all?
I don't know. I don't think so. Do you want me to go look?
There can't be one here. There's no smell of anything burning.
None at all? You don't have a little fire in the chimney? Something burning in the attic or in the cellar? A little fire just starting at least.
I am sorry to disappoint you, but I do not believe there's anything here at the moment. I promise I'll notify you when we do have something.
Please don't forget it. It would be a great help.
That's a promise.
And there's nothing burning at your house either.
No, unfortunately.
Things aren't going well just now.
Very poorly. There's been almost nothing. A few trifles. A chimney, a barn, nothing important. It doesn't bring in much. But since there are no returns, the profits on output are very meager.
Times are bad. It's true all over. It's the same this year with business and agriculture as it is with fires. Nothing is prospering.
No wheat. No fires.
No floods either.
But there is some sugar.
That's because it is imported.
It's harder in the case of fires. The tariffs are too high.
Did you go to see the match dealer?
There's nothing there. He's insured against fires.
Why don't you go see the vicar of Wakefield and use my name?
I don't have the right to extinguish clergymen's fires. The bishop would get angry. Besides, they extinguish their fires themselves, or else they have them put out by Vestal virgins.
Go see the Durans.
I can't do that either. He's not English. He's only been naturalized. And naturalized citizens have the right to have houses, but not the right to have them put out if they're burning.
Nevertheless, when they set fire to it last year, it was put out just the same.
He did that all by himself, clandestinely. But it's not I who would report him.
Neither would I.
Mr. Fire Chief, since you're not too pressed, stay a little while longer. You would be doing us a favor.
Shall I tell you some stories?
Oh, by all means. How charming of you.
Yes.
Some
yes,
stories.
stories.
Hurrah!
Hurrah, some stories.
And what is even more interesting is the fact that the firemen's stories are all true, and they're all based on experience.
I speak from my own experience. Truth. Nothing but the truth. No fiction.
That's right. Truth is never found in books, only in life.
Begin.
Begin.
Be quiet. He is beginning.
Excuse me. Don't look at me that way. You embarrass me. You know that I'm shy.
Isn't he charming?
I'm going to begin anyhow. But promise me that you won't listen.
But if we don't listen to you, we will hear you.
I didn't think of that.
I told you he's just a boy.
Oh, the sweet child.
Get up.
Well then, the dog and the cow, an experimental fable. Once upon a time, another cow asked another dog, "Why have you not swallowed your trunk?" "Pardon me," replied the dog. "It is because I thought that I was an elephant."
What is the moral?
That's for you to find out.
He's right.
It's your turn, dear lady.
Oh, I only know one. I'm going to tell you. It's called The Bouquet.
Oh, my wife has always been romantic.
She's a true Englishwoman.
Here it is. Once upon a time, a fiancé gave a bouquet of flowers to his fiancée, who said thanks. But before she had said thanks, he, without saying a single word, took back the flowers he had given her in order to teach her a good lesson. And he said, "I take them back." He said goodbye, and he took them back and went off in all directions.
Oh, charming.
You have a wife, Mr. Smith, of whom all the world is jealous.
It's true. My wife is intelligence personified. She's even more intelligent than I am. In any case, she is much more feminine. Everyone says so.
Let's have another, Mr. Fire Chief.
Oh no, it's too late.
Tell us one anyway.
I'm too tired.
Please do us a favor.
I beg you.
No.
You have a heart of ice. We're sitting on hot coals.
I implore you.
Righto.
He agrees. He's going to bore us again.
No, Buck, I was too polite.
The head code. My brother-in-law had, on the paternal side, a first cousin whose maternal uncle had a father-in-law whose paternal grandfather had married as his second wife a young native whose brother he had met on one of his travels, a girl of whom he was enamored and by whom he had a son who married an intrepid lady pharmacist who was none other than the niece of an unknown fourth-class petty officer in the Royal Navy, whose adopted father had an aunt who spoke Spanish fluently and who was perhaps one of the granddaughters of an engineer who died young himself, the grandson of the owner of a vineyard which produced mediocre wine, but who also had a second cousin, a stay-at-home sergeant major, whose son had married a very pretty young woman, a divorcee, whose first husband was the son of a loyal patriot, who in the hope of making his fortune had managed to bring up one of his daughters so that she could marry a footman who had known Rothschild, and whose brother, after having changed his trade several times, married and had a daughter whose stunted great-grandfather wore spectacles, which he had been given by a cousin of his, the brother-in-law of a man from Portugal, natural son of a miller, but not too badly off, whose foster brother had married the daughter of a former country doctor, who was himself a foster brother of the son of a forester. Himself, the natural son of another country doctor, married 3 times in a row, whose third wife...
I knew that third wife. If I'm not mistaken. She ate chicken sitting on a horse's nest.
It's not the same one. As I was saying, whose third wife was the daughter of the best midwife in the region and who early left a widow.
Like my wife.
Had married a glazier who was full of life and who had by the daughter of a station master a child who had burned his bridges.
His britches?
No, his bridge game.
Oh.
And had married an oyster woman whose father had a brother, mayor of a small town, who had taken as his wife a blonde school teacher whose cousin, a fly fisherman,
A fly by night?
had married another blonde school teacher named Marie, too, whose brother was married to another Marie, also a blonde school teacher,
Since she's blonde, she must be Marie.
and whose father had been reared in Canada by an old woman who was the niece of a priest who, a grandmother, occasionally in the winter, like everyone else, caught the cold.
A curious story, almost unbelievable.
If you catch a cold, you should get yourself a colt.
It's a useless precaution, but absolutely necessary.
Excuse me, Mr. Fire Chief, but I did not follow your story very well. At the end, when we got to the grandmother of the priest, I got mixed up.
One always gets mixed up in the hands of a priest.
Oh yes, Mr. Fire Chief, begin again. Everyone wants to hear.
I don't know whether I'll be able to. I'm on official business. It depends on what time it is.
We don't have the time here.
But the clock.
It runs badly, is contradictory, and always indicates the opposite of what the hour really is.
Madam, sir,
What do you want?
What have you come in here for?
I hope Madam and Sir will excuse me, and these ladies and gentlemen too. I would like to tell you a story myself.
What is she saying?
I believe that our friend's maid is going crazy. She wants to tell us a story too.
Who does she think she is? Oh!
Where are you butting in?
This is really uncalled for, Mary.
Oh, but is she? She's incredible.
And you?
Incredible. Here.
What does all this mean?
You know each other?
And how?
I'm so glad to see you again at last.
Oh. This is too much here. Here in our home in the suburbs of London?
It's not proper.
It was she who extinguished my first fire.
I'm your little fire hose.
If that is the case, dear friends, these emotions are understandable. human, honorable.
All that is human is honorable.
Even so, I don't like to see it here among us.
She's not been properly brought up.
No, you have too many prejudices.
What I think is that a maid, after all, even though it's none of my business, is never anything but a maid.
Even if she can sometimes be a rather good detective.
Let me go.
Well, don't be upset. They're not so bad, really.
You two are very touching, but at the same time, a little
Yes, that's exactly the word.
too exhibitionist.
There is a native British modesty, forgive me for attempting yet again to define my thoughts, not understood by foreigners, even by specialists. Thanks to which, if I may thus express myself, of course, I don't mean to refer to you.
I was going to tell you.
Don't tell us anything.
Oh, yes.
Go, my little Mary, go quietly to the kitchen and read your poems before the mirror.
You know, even though I'm not a maid, I also read poems before the mirror.
This morning, when you looked at yourself in the mirror, you didn't see yourself.
That's because I wasn't there yet.
All the same, I could perhaps recite a little poem for you.
My little Mary, you are frightfully obstinate.
I'm going to recite a poem then. That is agreed. It is a poem entitled The Fire, in honor of the fire chief. The fire. The polypoids were burning in the wood. The stone caught fire. The castles caught fire. The forest caught fire. The men caught fire. The women caught fire. The birds caught fire. The fish caught fire. The water caught fire. The sky caught fire. The ashes caught fire. The smoke caught fire. The fire caught fire. Everything caught fire.
Oh! That set chills up my spine.
And yet, there's a certain warmth in those lines.
I thought it was marvelous.
All the same.
You're exaggerating.
Just a minute. I admit, all this is very subjective, but this is my conception of the world, my dream, my ideal. And now this reminds me that I must leave. Since you don't have the time here, I must tell you that in exactly 3/4 of an hour and 16 minutes, I'm having a fire at the other end of the city. Consequently, I must hurry, even though it will be quite unimportant.
What will it be? A little chimney fire?
Oh, not even that. A straw fire and a little heartburn.
Well, we're sorry to see you go.
You have been very entertaining.
Thanks to you, we have spent a truly Cartesian quarter of an hour.
Speaking of that, the ball soprano?
She always wears her hair in the same style.
Oh. Then, goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.
Good luck, and a good fire.
Let's hope so, for everybody.
I can buy a pocket knife for my brother, but you can't buy Ireland for your grandmother.
One walks on his feet, but one heats with electricity or coal.
He who sells an ox today.
He who sells an ox today will have an egg tomorrow.
In real life, one must look out of the window.
One can sit down on a chair when the chair doesn't have any.
One must always think of everything.
The ceiling is above. The
When
floor,
I say
the
yes, it's
floor is
only a
below.
matter
Each his own.
Fool me,
Take a circle, cross it,
Nevertheless.
and it will turn
Oh,
vicious.
Nevertheless, it was the cow that gave us tails.
Cocksuckles are young when they're small.
Oh, don't be turkeys, rather kiss the conspirator.
The
Charity
card was
begins at
very
home.
fast, but the cook beats Pat better.
One can prove that social progress is
I'm
definitely
waiting for
better
the
with
aqueduct to
sugar.
come and
To
see.
hell with polishing!
Oh,
One doesn't polish spectacles with black wax.
Yes, but with money, one can buy anything.
I'd rather kill a rabbit than sing in the garden.
Dogs have fleas, dogs have fleas.
cactus, 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 cockroach,
You and Caxus.
Groom the bridegroom! Groom the bridegroom!
Seducer seduced!
scaramouche.
Sanitouche.
Go take a douche.
I've been goosed.
Oh, Saint Newt, 2 steps to my
The
place.
Pope elopes. The Pope got no horoscope. The horoscope's bespoke.
Oh, Bazaar, Balzac, Bazooka.
Bizarre, Beaux-Arts, Braziers.
It's
Not
That
way.
it's
over.
Here. It's
not
not
that
that way.
way.
It's over here. It's not that way.
It's over here. It's not that way. It's over here. It's not that way. It's over here.
There, it's 9 o'clock. We've drunk the soup and eaten the fish and chips and the English salad. The children have drunk English water. We've eaten well this evening. That's because we live in the suburbs of London and because our name is Martin. That's it.
Waiting for the nose.